I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Ha Rakakwadash. Double honors unto our apostle elders, which rule great millstone well and shalom. To the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel, may you endure unto the end. Shalom wa abba. So this is Matthew 27, verse 1. When the morning was come, all the chief priests and elders of the people, which were Israelites, took counsel against Yahushua to put him to death. And that's what they're doing to us right now, right? You got these Jake that are in bed with Esau, and Esau is using them against us to try to put us to death. And when they had bound him, they led him away and delivered him to Pontius Pilate, the governor. Then Judas, which had betrayed him, which shows you that there's spies amongst the camps, when he saw that he was condemned, repented himself, and brought again the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders, saying, I have sinned in that I have betrayed the innocent blood of Yahushua. And they said, what is that to us? See thou to that, right? So that's your business. We ain't worried about you. You sold out, right? But they paid him to show them where Yahushua was. He gave him a kiss on the cheek. And he cast down the pieces of silver in the temple and departed and went and hanged himself. That was his repentance. He was so disgusted with his own behavior, which really he had no control of. It's all preordained. But he hanged himself. All right? That's repentance in that situation. It says, and the chief priest took the silver pieces and said, it is not lawful for to put them into the treasury, because it is the price of blood, which shows these are hypocrites. These Israelites that were going against Yahushua, they were actually hypocrites. They looked like an Israelite. They act like they were for the Israelites because they were Israelites, leaders of the Israelites. But once again, they led them astray into the hands of the devil, the so-called white race. It says, and they took counsel and bought with them the potter's field and to bury strangers in. Wherefore that field was called the field of blood unto this day. Then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremy the prophet, Jeremiah, saying, and they took the 30 pieces of silver, which is the price of a slave, the price of him that was valued, whom they of the sons of Israel did value, which we value him as precious. Yahushua is precious. All right. It says, and gave them for the potter's field as the Lord appointed me. See, and gave them for the potter's field as the Lord appointed me. So this is all preordained. Okay. Even Yahushua being crucified, that was preordained. The 2/3 rejecting Yahushua, that's preordained. It's all fulfilling the will of the Lord, and it's playing out like a movie. It says in verse 11, and Yahushua stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, saying, art thou the king of the Jews? And Yahushua said unto him, thou sayest. And when he was accused of the chief priests and the elders, he answered nothing. Then said Pilate unto him, hearest thou not how many things they witness against thee? And we're going to be in the same predicament. They're going to arrest us and try to condemn us and make us afraid and bring all these false accusers against us. Now they got AI that they could develop any kind of image, right? So they're going to use all this technology and all their ability with their money to bribe, right, to come up against us because of this truth. And just like our master Yahushua. Then said Pilate unto him, hearest thou not how many things they witness against thee? And that's what they're going to do. They're going to put us in the court. And a good movie on this is Sin City. When you watch that movie Sin City, the city of sin really represents America. And all the evils go back to the politicians, the religions, right? The people in power, which are the Edomites, the so-called white race. All right, the devil the Bible speaks of, and it trickles down to their government, which you have these leaders, even the police officers, which are wicked, right? It says, and he answered him to never a word, insomuch that the governor marveled greatly. Now at that feast, the governor was wont to release unto the people a prisoner whom they would, which was a tradition that they had. And they had then a notable prisoner called Barabbas, which he was like a freedom fighter. He'd be in these protests, right? Trying to take out the cops and shit. That's the kind of Jake he was, you know? But he was a violent man. Therefore, when they were gathered together, Pilate said unto them, and he's talking to the Israelites, whom will ye that I release unto you, Barabbas or Yahushua, which is called the Messiah? For he knew that for envy. And why were they envying Yahushua? It was because the power was with him. He was prophesying and doing miracles. They had delivered him. See? And so these Israelites are back today, just like the prophets are here today. These Israelites are back today, and they envy us for the power. See? So they've gone in the way of Cain. It says, when he was set down on the judgment seat, his wife sent unto him, saying, have thou nothing to do with that just man? For I have suffered many things this day in a dream because of him. Which this is happening to our enemies today. I keep saying it because the scriptures say it. The Lord is tormenting our enemies with nightmares. All right? He did it for our forefather Jacob, and he's doing it for us just like he did it for Yahushua. It says, but the chief priests and elders persuaded the multitude that they should ask Barabbas, the violent man, which he was an Israelite, but he was a violent Israelite, and destroy Yahushua. The governor answered and said unto them, whether of the twain will ye that I release unto you? They said, Barabbas. See, that's why you see him in the fucking riots. You see all these Jakes show up for the riots, but do they come to listen to the prophets that speak the word of Yahweh and the spirit of Yahushua? No. So don't be shocked that all these Jake go to these riots to get beanbagged, maced, and eventually they're going to be locked up or murdered, right? Because they're saying if you're out there, you're considered a terrorist. And we're told not to behave like that in the scripture. It says not to be in these riotous ways. It's a riotous way, all right? But once again, Jake is going to choose the violent man over the spiritual man because they are carnally minded. It says, Pilate saith unto them, what shall I do then with Yahushua, which is called Hamashiach? They all say unto him, let him be crucified. And that's what they want with us. They want us to die so that they don't have to hear the prophecies no more. Because they love this whore, America. And the governor said, why, what evil had he done? And that's what they're doing right now. They're searching us out for evil. They're watching us on our phones, on our tablets, on our TVs. They got spies, right? So, but they're looking out for things to try to condemn us. But there is no condemnation to them that are in Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahushua, by the Holy Spirit. All right? It says, but they cried out the more, saying, let him be crucified. So they wanted him just to die, right? Why? Because they envied him. And that's the same thing that's going to happen with us, all right? But they're not going to be able to kill us all. Only a scarce number of Israelites that are in this truth will perish, for we are precious. There's only a few of us. It says, when Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, but that rather a tumult was made, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude. And what it was the Lord wasn't begging for his life. See, Pontius Pilate put many people to death, but he was used to them begging for his life, right? But Yahushua didn't beg, like it was prophesied in Isaiah 53, right? Even Pontius Pilate told him, don't you know I have the power to take your life, or set you free? And he says, Yahushua told him, you ain't got no power. Let me pull that. So it's right here in John 19:10. Then saith Pilate unto him, speakest thou not unto me? Knowest thou not that I have power to crucify thee, and have power to release thee? Yahushua answered, thou couldst have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from above. Therefore, he that delivered me unto thee had the greater sin. Talking about these 2/3, right? They're going to be in that lake of fire, suffering shame. It says, and from thenceforth Pilate sought to release him, because he knew he was innocent. But the Jews cried out, saying, if thou let this man go, thou art not Caesar's friend. Whosoever maketh himself a king speaketh against Caesar. See, and that's why they want to destroy us, because they worship the so-called white race and their government, the beast system. And this is why we know, according to prophecy, they're going to take that implantable mark, the mark of the beast, the implantable microchip, all right, for buying and selling that Caesar is going to make mandatory, which that name Caesar hasn't been lost. Remember, they have their border Khazar, which is Caesar, all right? Trump is a Caesar. We believe he is the reincarnation of Nero, which is clear to see that he's doing the same thing as that spirit back in the past, which they are the wicked, the so-called white race, the Edomites that are today deceiving the world. Those are the Romans and the Greeks from the past, all right? But we believe, I know I do, I truly believe that Trump is Nero in reincarnation. He is that Caesar, or as I should say, Caesar. It says in Matthew 27, verse 24, when Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, because once again, Yahushua wasn't begging for his life, but that rather a tumult was made, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this just person. See ye to it. See, and that don't make him innocent. That's what these Jake that are in these Christian churches and even these heathen, they don't realize that just because you go to these churches and say, I gave my life to Jesus Christ, that don't mean shit. All right, just because you were baptized 10 times by 10 different religious groups, that don't mean shit. Just like Pontius Pilate, just because he washed his hands in some water, some earthly water, that don't make you innocent of having Yahushua crucified. See, you got to die for that. And that's why the Lord, when he comes back, he's going to see these people that did this to him, because they're going to be reincarnated back into this generation. It says, then answered all the people and said, his blood be on us and on our children. Them and their children are here today. These are the 2/3 that are going to die in the lake of fire. These are the 2/3 that died in the wilderness when we came out of the first Egypt. And they're not going to make it out of this Egypt, the spiritual Egypt, America, Babylon the Great, who are to be destroyed. Then released he Barabbas unto them. And what is Trump and all his allies doing? They're releasing violent men into the society. You see? Those men that escaped from that prison, they said that they were released. Why? So that they could go cause chaos, right? As agents of chaos, which Esau's plan is order out of chaos. See, it's on their money. Order out of chaos, which is on the dollar bill, and this dollar bill, you can see as the pyramid, because its idea is of ancient Egypt. All right, that's why you have a president that goes through a after he's elected, he goes through a inauguration that goes back to the witchcraft of Egypt. All right, and it says out of order, chaos. I'm sorry, out of order, out of chaos. Forgive me, order out of chaos. All right, and it says the Great Seal. Look at that. So I gotta bring that out. I just realized that right now. But I've been telling you, through the Spirit as prophesied that America is Egypt, in the reincarnation, right? It's Rome, but it's in the image of Egypt also because they have the Israelites in slavery. All right. And Trump is Pharaoh, the king of Babylon, right? Just like Egypt had a Pharaoh that thought he was a god, right? But the original Egypt were dark skinned people, Hamites, right? Which live in South Sudan today. But these Edomites, they got the same God complex like the Hamites did. All right. But right here on the dollar bill, you see the seal, right? You have the Great Seal of America and you have the Pyramid of Egypt. It says, in God we trust, but when you understand the Hebrew, this is Baal. Baal. In God. Ba in Allah, God. Baal. It says we trust one. And when it says one, it don't say $1. At the bottom it says $1. But under the one, it is nothing. It's just one. And Baal, what it'll say is Baal, right? And it's saying that they trust in Baal, one, right? And then you see the Great Seal of America and the pyramids that the Israelites built in slavery in Egypt. And it's saying one. United States and Egypt are one. All right. And then right here it says the Great Seal, which is what? Order out of chaos. This is supposed to be the Great Seal. So why do they have the Great Seal over here? See? And then under this one, it says of the United States. So this is the Great Seal of the United States. See, they have the Israelites in slavery, and they use the ways of these other heathens, right? But Edom is the last heathen that have us in slavery. We're done with slavery. The Lord prophesied that he would bring Edom down, and his kingdom would be turned into a lake of fire. All right? Just like he brought down Pharaoh and his army, he's going to do the same for us. You go to a different Bible app. It says, 2nd Ezra 15. That's not working, right? 2nd Ezra 15. Verse 10. Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter, because they intend to try to slaughter us here in America. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. Is he talking about ancient Egypt? No, he's talking about America, the spiritual Egypt of today. It says, behold, it says, but I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. It says in verse 5, behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. It says in verse 14, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword, the so-called white race, and their destruction draweth nigh. And one people shall stand up and fight against another, which you see in LA, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition, which you see in LA, among men, and invading one and another. Which this is going to arouse to more violence. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power, which the Lord's going to give them power over these cops and the military. They're going to really actually fuck them up, man. These average citizens, the Lord's going to put a spirit in them to actually go against the government and the government not be able to stop them. All right, they're going to go into these governor houses and, do whatever they want. The Lord says, shall stand in their power, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. And that's why there's going to be martial law. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, which what is they say about California, that there's a bunch of checkpoints in America, on the streets of America in California, right? So that prophecy is already being fulfilled, but it's going to go to the whole United States is going to be in martial law. It says, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, because of the pride of these presidents and governors and mayors. It says, the houses shall be destroyed and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation, which we just saw. I shared that video with that man.
For one of the major grocery... Good morning. I'm a truck driver for one of the major grocery distributors on the East Coast. And I've been off for the weekend. And I came into work this morning, and there's nothing for us to do because apparently our computer system has been down for several days. And considering all the news about the riots in Los Angeles and the speculation that it may spread, makes me wonder if we weren't hacked on purpose to deprive the DC and the Baltimore areas of food just to see if the natives would get restless. Makes you wonder. And it doesn't.
All right. Going back to Matthew 27, verse 25. Then answered all the people and said, his blood be on his children, be on us and our children. Which this is what we're witnessing today. It's that judgment time where the Lord is going to judge these Israelites that were betraying Yahweh Shai back then, which are now, and their children. So there's more of them, right? So the Lord's going to destroy them, and he's going to use that sword, the so-called white man, to do it. And what did it say in 2 Ezra 15? That he would use famine. It says, behold, verse 5, behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, the so-called white race, and he's causing a famine to bring death and destruction. See? It's simple to see if you accept the truth. Now, if you don't, then you're willfully ignorant and you're going to be destroyed. It says, then released he Barabbas unto them. And that's what you see, a lot of these inmates being released. See? And it's a real thing that's happening right now. That they're releasing violent people into the streets. See? Right here. Rolling Stone magazine. Meet the violent January 6 criminals Trump let back on the streets. See? So he's doing what they did back in Rome. See? Because America is the reincarnation of Rome. It says the president's sweeping pardon of 1,500. Oh yeah, who did he just pardon? That drug gang leader, Hoover, right? Let me see. Let me finish this and then I'll get that. It says the president's sweeping pardon of 1,500 individual does not exclude the perpetrators of some of the day's most intense violence. Let's see. pardon. Yeah, see, Trump commutes gang leader sentence. Who is Larry Hoover? See? That's like Barabbas. See? And ones they want to condemn are the prophets. And everybody was happy to see that violent man Barabbas, which is AKA Larry Hoover, be pardoned. Right? It says, then released he Barabbas unto them when he had scourged Yahweh, but they want to beat us, torture us, just like they did our master. He delivered him to be crucified. It says, then the soldiers of the governor took Yahushua into the common hall and gathered unto him the whole band of soldiers, and they stripped him and put on him a scarlet robe. And when they had plaited a crown of thorns, they put it upon his head and a reed in his right hand, and they bowed the knee before him and mocked him, saying, Hail, King of the Jews. See, and they did it now like that, but there's going to come a day where the Lord comes back and they're going to have to, they're going to be broken, into pieces. The Lord's going to smash them, over and over for 1,000 years, right? The Edomites, the Jake, they're going to die in the lake of fire, right? But they're going to come back as Israelites in righteousness through the loins of the elect that are saved. But the Edomite, they have no hope. They have an expiration date. There's a date that they're going to be made extinct after a brutal 1,000 years of slavery. And I mean brutal. Because what they did to us was brutal. So we have to pay them back when we get them into the captivity, right? Which we're ruling and they're in slavery. And we're going to pay them back. So it's going to be worse for them. And that's why these devils are fighting like hell, because they're afraid of the slavery that they're about to enter. And they should be. You should be very afraid, because there is no fucks given, right? We ain't going to have no remorse in our heart for you. We're not going to have empathy. We're not going to have sympathy. It's just going to be a slaughter on you. And you're going to come back and get slaughtered again. It tells you this in Psalm 147. It says in Psalm 147 and verse, nope, that's not it. 149. Oh, let's see. Oh, you know what? I think it's 137. Yep. I'll start at 7. It says, remember, O Yahweh, the sons of Edom, in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, destroy it, even to the foundation thereof, which they did when Judah was taken into captivity under the Assyrian Nebuchadnezzar. They burned our temple. O daughter of Babylon, which today is their kingdom, the Edomite, who are to be destroyed. He's going to destroy your kingdom with fire. Happy shall he be that rewarded thee as thou hast served us. So you're going to get exactly what you deserve. Everything you did to us, you're going to get it done unto you, right? Now, we're not going to do some fucking sodomite bullshit, but don't doubt that you won't get impaled from your ass to your mouth, all right? It says, happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. See, that's the spirit we're going to be in. Take your baby and take it by the leg and smack it against a stone. And so you can see the brains come out that fucking head of it, and its head be empty like a bowl. All right? You're going to see some horrific shit, because you did this shit to us, and you got to pay for it. So it got to be double. You got to pay for what you did and pay back, right, to make it right. Your lives is what is required. Your money, we don't give a fuck about your worthless money. We don't give a fuck about this land that's going to be destroyed. We want your lives, and we have to patiently wait for it until Yahweh Shai gives it to us. But once he gives it to us, he's going to give us a heart to be able to take your babies and smash their heads against stones. And you're not going to we're not going to say, oh, I'm sorry, or, oh, excuse me, or, oh, anything. You're not going to get a day off except for the Sabbath. You're not going to get what they say, therapy to talk about your problems. You're not going to get alcohol to try to soften the blows. You're not going to get nothing but just pain and suffering under the Israelites, because that's all we got under you. And I'm telling you, I had to do some traveling recently, and I really got like I already knew how it was, but when you go through these experiences, it makes you even wiser. You prosper, right? We overcome and prosper. That's what the hopeful elect do. And it's clear that these Edomites they ain't shit, and they don't give a fuck about a Jake, all right? So this is why my heart is set on what the Lord has said. I can't wait to see these fucking Edomites get their fucking heads smashed in, their babies' heads smashed in, their women smashed, right? Because all they've done is torture us. They poisoned us, and then they want to blame us for the problems when you're the fucking problem, you fucking red fucking maggot. Anyways, it says, and they spit upon him and took the reed and smote him on the head. And remember, Yahushai, man, we're not even angry enough yet. The Lord man. And after that they had mocked him, they took the robe off of him and put his own raiment on him and led him away to crucify him. And as they came out, they found a man of Cyrene, which is of Africa, I believe it's North Africa, Simon, right? Simeon, or to hear is what it means, Shemai one, by name. Him they compelled to bear his cross, which I made the point to the Spirit. The reason why they had this man, Simon, and not Simon Peter, because they would have wanted crucified Simon Peter, you see. So Peter had to flee, right? And the Lord set it up where he would deny him 3 times and run away so he wouldn't be destroyed with Yahushai. And instead, Yahushai had the substitute Simon, right, of Cyrene, step in to bear that cross for Yahushai. Him they compelled to bear his cross. And when they were come unto a place called Golgotha, which is, that is to say, a place of a skull, which the mountain looked like a skull, they gave him vinegar to drink mingled with gall, and when he had tasted thereof, he would not drink, because he didn't want nothing to block his senses. And they crucified him and parted his garments, casting lots that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet. They parted my garments among them, and upon my vesture did they cast lots. Which this is what they're going to do to us. We represent that garment. All right? They're going to want to tear us apart, destroy us, right? Which they did. They did through the generations. They sold us in slavery. They did all these horrible things to us. All right? They cast lots on us. They sold us for what? It says in Deuteronomy 28. And that was under the Roman. Right? The Edomite, the so-called white devil today. It says in Deuteronomy 28 and 68. It says, and Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. So they wanted to part his garments, which we represent that garment, that body, all right? And so they wanted to break us up, break up our family. What are the ICE doing? They're breaking up families. It says, By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, which we were taken out of our land, we were exiled from Israel, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen. They cast lots for us, right here in America. And no man shall buy you, which we were never allowed to be free. Even though they say we're free in a free country, you're not fucking free. All right? As soon as you go into these so-called white neighborhoods, they let you know you're not free, right? They'll fuck with you. The other day I had a hotel. This bitch, the payment was paid, but she just had to fuck with me. She just had to make me go through all this fucking bullshit just because she was a so-called Caucasian, an Edomite bitch, and she didn't like how I looked or how many kids I had or something, and she wanted to fuck with me. But the bill was already paid, but she tried to say the bill was not paid. She was trying to call me a fucking thief, but she got a mouthful. She fucking got an earful, as they say, right? A mouthful, earful, whatever the fuck. But I told her, you fucking Caucasians, you're the fucking thieves. When it was all done and said, And then right when I walked out, we went and got gas. The car behind me was a U.S. postal carrier, and it said 144. And I just right away I got the just like right now what happened on the phone message, ding ding, right? That bitch got the message that the Lord wanted her to, you know. And what was it? That you fucking Caucasians ain't shit. You're going down, and you're gonna be enslaved under us, like it or not, right? But I said it in different ways. But you know what I'm saying. You gotta be wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. It says in Deuteronomy 28:68, and Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. See? So this was prophecy. It was happening literally, but it was prophecy of what was going to happen to the Israelites in the later generations. All right. So it says in verse 36, and sitting down, they watched him there and set up over his head his accusation written, this is Yahushua, the kings of the Jews. Then were there, and they wrote it in 3 different languages, Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. Then were there 2 thieves crucified with him, one on the right hand and another on the left. And they that passed by reviled him, wagging their heads because he was naked. So they were like, shame on you, right? Just like they're doing to those ICE. Shame, shame, shame. That's what they're doing to Yahushua. These reprobates. It says, and saying, thou that destroyeth the temple and buildeth it in 3 days, save thyself. If thou be the son of Yahweh, come down from the cross. And see, they're going to torment the Israelite that believes in Yahushua. But Yahushua is going to deliver us. That's why he's going to send the sword after these reprobates, right? And then eventually he's going to put it in the hearts of these kings, which are allies to America and enemies, to nuke it, to avenge us, for we were tormented here. All right? It says, likewise, also the chief priests, mocking him with the scribes and elders, said, so these false leaders, right, the false prophets of Israel, they're going to be in that lake of fire also. It says, he saved others, himself he cannot save. If he be the king of Israel, let him now come down from the cross, and we will believe him. What, because you didn't believe? Does that really make a difference? No, it actually fulfills the scriptures. That's what these reprobates don't get. Romans 3:3. For what if some did not believe? For what if some Israelites did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of Yahweh without effect? Yahweh forbid, yea, let Yahweh be true, but every man a liar. And that's why Yahushua had to go on that cross to fulfill the word of Yahweh. As it is written, that thou mightest be justified in thy sayings and mightest overcome when thou art judged. But if our unrighteousness commend the righteousness of Yahweh, what shall we say? Is Yahweh unrighteous who taketh vengeance? I speak as a man. Yahweh forbid. For then how shall Yahweh judge the world? For if the truth of Yahweh had more abounded through my lie unto his glory, why yet am I also judged as a sinner? See? So we're not to be given into unrighteousness. We're to hunger and thirst after righteousness. The righteousness of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai. But once again, let me get that second Ezra 15 and 4. It says, for all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. Romans 9 verse 6. Not as though the word of Yahweh had taken none effect, for they are not all Israel which are of Israel. So it's part of prophecy that not every Israelite is going to believe. All right, this is for the Israelites that do believe. All right, but it also condemns them that do not believe. For as they hear these words, they reject them. It says in Matthew 27, verse 43, he trusted in Yahweh, let him deliver him. Now, if he will have him, for he said, I am the son of Yahweh. But they didn't realize in their mortal minds that Yahushua had to be crucified to fulfill the word of Yahweh. Right? They weren't seeing their part in the play. And that's what these reprobates are now. They don't have no understanding. They have no judgment. They're reprobates. Right? They believe in the promises, which are lies, of Esau, which it tells you, never trust your enemy, like iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. All right? So he's going to destroy you. You believe that Esau, the so-called white man, right? He loves you or cares about you. Shit, he's going to destroy you in nuclear fire, right? That's what the Lord has given the so-called white man and his kingdom as a judgment, nuclear destruction. It says, the thieves also, which were crucified with him, cast the same in his teeth. So they were talking shit. Now, from the 6th hour, there was darkness over all the land unto the 9th hour. In fact, let me get this. Let's see, what was it? No, it left me. But anyways, they were talking shit. Now from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land unto the 9th hour. And which was, I believe it was a lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipse, right.
According to NASA science, using this textual source, scholars narrowed down a possible date of crucifixion to Friday, April 3rd, 33 CE, because a lunar eclipse occurred that day.
See, a lunar eclipse. All right, which is, and you could Google these things. This truth is simple enough for children to understand. I know my children understand certain things that you see these grown-ass men stumble over. All right, and it's because the Lord is in control of who understands it and who doesn't. It says, and about the 9th hour, Yahushua cried with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is to say, my power, why hast thou forsaken me? Because really, he wanted to destroy the Roman Edomite, right? because he said, "Forgive these Israelites, for they know not what they do." But he wanted to destroy the Edomites, but his power, the Lord stopped him because he had to suffer that cross. All right, but it tells you, that's what I was going to get. Oh, Matthew 27, and we're down here. Let me get it. It's Hebrews, maybe Romans, but Hebrews 12. Yep, verse 2. Looking unto Yahushua, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, because he could see the glory that he was going to receive in his mind. So he was able to endure the cross, despising the shame. See? And is set down at the right hand of the throne of Yahweh. See? It says in verse 47, some of them that stood there, when they heard that, said, This man calleth for Elias, which, let's pull it up. See, the name.
The Lord is my God. According to parents, Elias is a variant of the biblical name Elijah, which means, the Lord is my God. It can also mean the strong Lord, or Jehovah is God. Elijah is a prophet in the Hebrew Bible, who was charged with the responsibility of leading the Israelites back to the worship of one God.
So, as you see, the Lord Yahweh is my power. All right? It's not Jehovah, it's Yahweh is power. Right? So when he was saying Elias, he wasn't calling for Elias. He was calling for Yahweh's, his power. His power. Why? Because he wanted to destroy him. Remember, when he comes back, he's destroying these Edomites. It tells you that in Isaiah 63. He's not going to meet them as a man. Isaiah 63 and 1. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra, and is dyed white because the Lord's garments are drenched in the blood of the Edomites? Revelation 19 and 13. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of Yahweh. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, chariots, so-called UFOs, so you could understand, clothed in fine linen, white and clean, and out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, a laser beam, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. You're going to get fucked up in slavery. And he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Almighty Yahweh. See? So that's what he wanted. His desire was to destroy these fucking Edomites. It says, and straightway one of them ran and took a sponge and filled it with vinegar and put it in on a reed, which they used the sponge to wipe their ass after they shitted. And the vinegar was to disinfect the sponge. And this is what they put in his mouth. Just like today we eat the bread defiled amongst the heathen. It says, and gave him to drink. The rest said, let us see whether Elias will come to save him. Yahushua, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost, so he died. And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake. So it was an earthquake. And the rocks rent. Remember, there's going to be an earthquake when Yahushua comes back. And the graves were open, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose. Which that's also going to happen. Them that are dead, they're going to raise and be with him when he returns. But this time in the past, they went back into the cities and lived full lives, after they rose from the dead, and came out of the graves after his resurrection, and went into the holy city and appeared unto many. So that was a miracle. Now when the Satyrian and they that were with him watching Yahushua saw the earthquake and those things that were done, they feared greatly, saying, "Truly, this is the Son of Yahweh." And remember, you had Israelites in the Roman military back then, all right? It says, and many women there beholding, and many women were there beholding afar off, which followed Yahushua from Galilee, ministering unto him, among which was Mary Magdalene, and Mary the mother of James and Joses, and the mother of Zebedee's son, or children, the mother of Zebedee's children. So that, I just wanted to get that point of what the Lord went through, and we're gonna have to go through persecution ourselves. All right, it tells you in Matthew 24. It says, I'll start at 3. It says in Matthew 24:3, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, this is Yahushua, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world, the age of the so-called white man? When were these Romans going down? And Yahushua answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am anointed. Shit, even Trump is saying that. He's anointed, which really everything's predestined. And he's anointed to be the devil, to be Nero, to come down with great wrath, knowing that they have but a short time. But he's just a glove to the elite, which he takes orders from richer Edomites. It says, and shall deceive many, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Right? They're saying that LA is a civil war. That's a rumor of a war. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, you'll have race war, and kingdom against kingdom, world war. And there shall be famines and pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places, which is happening. Which they have even Yellowstone active. They have all these volcanoes erupting, which go hand in hand with the earthquakes. It says, all these are the beginning of sorrows, then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted. See, we're going to be tried like Yahushua, and they're going to persecute us, but the elect, we're going to be faithful even unto death, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake, which they're confederate against us. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another, and many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. So the world is going to become more violent, more hateful every day. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness through the internet by the mouths of the prophets of Israel unto all nations, because the Israelites been scattered throughout the world. And then shall the end come, which we've been on this internet since 2007, right? Starting with the head apostles that ruled Great Millstone Wild and which taught us the truth. Now, let me see. It says in verse 21, for then shall be great tribulation, because they're going to mandate an implantable microchip worldwide for buying and selling, and it's going to cause a great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. So we're living in a time that will never, ever exist again, nor ever has existed. It's going to be so violent, it's going to be terrible. And expect those days, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. And that's why everybody's saying that the time is speeding up. The days are so fast, right? Well, the Lord is speeding up the days for the elect's sake. All right? It says in verse 27, For as lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Which he's gonna come down in the land of Israel, burning up the military, and they're gonna shoot missiles off trying to fight him. But as Apostle Dahar brought out, in that second Ezra 13, he even asked that GPT, and it said, it was talking about, they said it in a different way, but really they gave him some information that the Lord don't need weapons of war. He just uses his word. And those missiles miss him and hit America. See? And as he's commanding those nuclear, the judgment, he's going to come over here quickly and save his elect. All right? It says, For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For wheresoever the carcass is, the dry bones of Israel, there will the eagles be gathered together, the angels in the chariots. Look it up. U.S. has the most so-called UFO sightings. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, they make the implantable microchip mandatory for buying and selling. Shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven. It will be a nuclear winter because of nuclear destruction. And the powers of the heavens shall be shaken because they'll be in their bunkers. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with the great sound of a trumpet. And they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, and from one end of heaven to the other, which we're going to rejoice to see these devils be destroyed. It says in verse 10, The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai, which is poured out without mixture. Which this scripture is talking about anyone that takes that implantable microchip or worships they worship the image of the beast, or they take that implantable microchip. It said, I'll just get it. I was trying, because it's been a long video. But Revelation 14:9, no reason to cut corners now. It says, And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast in his image, and receive his mark, the implantable microchip, the image is his beast system, and the so-called white man, and his setup is the beast, which you have the image of Rome being reincarnated. The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. Which it tells you in Matthew 25:40. It says, And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. Then shall he say also unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, ye cursed, these 2/3 that don't believe and that persecute his saints. It says, into everlasting fire prepared for the devil, the so-called white man, and his angels, which is his military. Once again, the Lord's going to come down in the east, destroy the armies of the world, which this world is in the hand of the wicked, the so-called white race, and then he's coming to destroy the kingdom of the wicked, the so-called white man. As it said, as the lightning strikes in the east, and the light shineth all the way to the west, this is what's going to happen. Isaiah 59. And I'll start at 18. According to their deeds, accordingly he will repay fury to his adversaries, recompense to his enemies. To the islands he will repay recompense. So shall they fear the name of Yahweh from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun, the east, when the enemy shall come in like a flood, coming in on his elect. The Spirit of Yahweh shall lift up a standard against him, and the Redeemer shall come to Zion, and unto them that turn from transgression, they repent from their sin, in Jacob, saith Yahweh. All praises and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Ha Rekakwadash. Double honors to our apostle elders, which rule great millstone well, and shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. May you endure unto the end. Shalom, wa abababal.